Well, hey guys, I'm Lynn Hanson. I'm one of the pastors here at North Park Church, and we're in a series called Wizard. We're talking about the power of real when fake rules supreme. And more than anything else, it seems like the reason that people say that they don't want much to do with God is that they don't see anything real in it or in the people of God or in the church or whatever. And I guess I don't always know what to do about that, but in this weekend series we're trying to talk about being real and you know, experiencing a lot of it in the meantime too. You know, the real deal. Do you really believe God, or do you really believe the things that are happening? You know, we want to be people of influence, I guess. You know, we want to help people find the way. And the problem, I think, is that in this world, fake really rules supreme, but the Bible, God's Word, shows us a different way of life, an authentic way of life, a real way of life, and a relationship with Jesus, struggles and all. And the story that we're looking at in our group this week, in our groups this week, is talks about this third component that we need in order to be real, our need for a courage that isn't cowardly. See, real courage is not manufactured stuff. I don't know, that's easy, you know, to manufacture stuff, real courage, or to buck up some strength or whatever, but you know, the real deal comes in a relationship with Jesus Christ. And we're going to go back to Joshua chapter 1 this week, and we're going to talk about real courage. I don't know how you can not go to that passage when we talk about it, but God's people, here's some background. God's people had been slaves in Egypt for the last 400 years, and God had raised up a great leader in Moses, and he had led them out of Egypt with you know, a whole bunch of mighty miracles. And God had given them a land for their very own, so that the plan was for them to come out of Egypt and go to this land that was for their purposes, for His purposes, a land of their very own, a land, the promised land, a land promised to them by God. But now they had to trust Him to go and take it, because the land was inhabited. It was inhabited by horrible people, and so God was going to accomplish two things with them taking that land. Well, they didn't have the courage, was the problem. In fact, Moses wanted the people to go and take the land. It was promised to him, and he was the leader that was supposed to take him in there. And he would have gone directly there from Egypt, I think, just a straight shot, a 2-week march. And, you know, he did his part to do that, but now they're standing outside of the promised land across the Jordan River from it, and the people have lost courage. And they said it's too difficult to do, too much, too hard, and they didn't want to go. And so the fact is, they said, let's get a new leader, and I'm looking at Numbers chapter 13 and 14 if you want to check this out, but they said, let's get a new leader who will take us back to Egypt where we came from. And they wouldn't do their part. And so here's what gives me a jolt in this whole thing. Though it had been God's will for them to take the land, now He said, they'll never enter this land. We're never going to let them enter the promised land, the land of rest. So, because they didn't do their part, God couldn't do His part. Were they lost? Were they unsaved? I don't know. I think some of them were, because as you read on in the story, you know, there's some indications of that. But I do know one thing for sure. They'd lost out on the abundant, that full life that God says that a believer in Jesus Christ is supposed to have. They lost out on it because they lost courage to do what God called them to do. They lost their purpose. Well, the fact is they all died off over the next 40 years. They died out there in the wilderness, not entering into the promised land, not going back to Egypt, somewhere caught in the middle, just lackadaisically living out the Christian life, not really doing what God called them to do, but not really going back to slavery unsaved either. The only men left when all of these people died off were the ones who wanted to do their part in the first place. And one of those guys is Joshua. Now I'm going to read you the story from Joshua chapter 1 verses 1 to 9, but I want to remind you that there's three components to storying that we do in our life groups. One component is that I'm going to tell you the story. I'm going to do that here in just a moment, but then you're going to put down your notes and try to retell the story from memory. Somebody is in your group. The rest of the group is going to try to listen for what they miss and then rebuild the story afterward. Okay? Ready to go? Here we go. After the death of Moses, the servant of the Lord said to Joshua, son of Nun, Moses' aide, Moses, my servant, is dead. Now then, you and all these people get ready to cross the Jordan River into the land I'm about to give them to the Israelites. I will give you every place you set your foot, as I promised Moses. Your territory will extend from the desert of Lebanon, from the great river Euphrates, all the Hittite country to the great sea on the west. No one will be able to stand up against you all the days of your life. As I was with Moses, so I will be with you. I will never leave you nor forsake you. Be strong and courageous, because you will lead these people to inherit the land I swore to their forefathers to give them. Be strong and very courageous. Be careful to obey all the law my servant Moses gave you. Do not turn from it to the right or to the left, that you may be successful wherever you go. Do not let this book of the law depart from your mouth. Meditate on it day and night, so that you may be careful to do everything written in it. Then you will be prosperous and successful. Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be terrified. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. All right. Now, we're going to, you're going to retell the story and rebuild the story. So go ahead and do that, would you please? All right, now I'm going to have some discussion questions for you. Are you ready for this? All right, what do you think the primary meaning of the story is? Go ahead and discuss that, would you please? All right, question number 2. Look over these 9 verses again. Put your eye on them, look through them, skim through them. Question 2, how many times did God tell Joshua to be courageous? In the 9 verses now, as you look at them, in what indirect ways did God tell Joshua to be courageous? So first thing you're looking for is how many times did he tell him directly to be courageous? Second thing you're looking for is what kind of indirect ways did he tell him to be courageous? And then why did he tell him so many times to be courageous? Go ahead and talk about that, please. All right, look again at those verses, those 9 verses, and notice that God often couples courage with something else, such as be strong and courageous. Be strong and courageous. Now, question number 3. How do the words strong and courageous work or fit together? How does that work? And why does God use those words together? Discuss that. Talk about that, would you please? What do you think? All right, time to get personal. Question number 4, is God telling you to be courageous? Pulling from those 9 verses, what might God be saying to you in order to help you be courageous, to have real courage? Okay? Well, God bless you guys. Have the rest of a great life group, and I will see you soon.